Hello and welcome to Zombardment versus Naughty Hermit. But before we get into the games, I'm quite new to making gameplay videos, so please do let me know if you think there's a way I can improve them, if you like these and want me to keep making them, or if I should just stick to deck techs. So thank you, it really helps the channel. And speaking of deck techs, if you'd like to see how the deck I'm playing works, then I have made a deck tech video about it. It's a zombie deck that has a Goblin Bombardment kind of value package where we can sacrifice things and gain value, kill our opponent's creatures, and it's just a cool deck in general. So going into game one, of course we have no idea what we're playing against, and my opponent mulliganed to 5 and starts with a turn 1 duress. So based on what he did, mulliganing to 5 and this land and duress, I think either he's a very, very unlucky rock player or he is playing some kind of combo deck. And the fact he thinks about this for a little bit and then takes the duress, you know, I'm really not sure what he's playing. So I think whether I should blind Cabal Therapy or just play the creature. In the end, because I have no idea what he's actually playing, I just go with the creature and figure that I'll be able to therapy next turn. And as you can see, that really backfired. He's playing Hermit Druid. So, I mean, I probably wouldn't have named that anyway. But I definitely have to Cabal Therapy now because otherwise I'm almost certainly dead next turn. So Hermit Druid will allow him to essentially mill his entire deck, and that will put huge creatures in his graveyard that he will then be able to reanimate and kill me with straight away. So I Cabal Therapy. At first I named Shallow Grave, that's the most common reanimation spell they use, and then of course when I see 2 copies of Reanimate I have to flash it back, taking those, so I'm not actually dead next turn. I have at least one more turn, I think. So this deck is super strong. I think if he had 2 copies of Sutured Ghoul in his deck, I would just be dead here, because Shallow Grave, as far as I'm aware, it says return the top creature of your graveyard. So even though I have the ability to exile 1 card, you know, he would return the top creature, but if he had 2 Sutured Ghouls, then, you know, I'd remove the top one and he'd still have a second one to kill me with. So because he doesn't just instantly go for that, I assume that he probably only has 1. Because even though he mills his deck, he would have been able to end of mine, mill his entire deck, and put 2 reanimation spells on top, and then untap and just play 1. So now that I'm not dead and I can untap, I'm pretty confident, because if I have 3 mana with a Withered Wretch, then I'm almost certainly not going to die here. So I get a little bit risky here. I don't know how risky this is because I don't know the Naughty Hermit deck that well. I assume that 2 exiles can keep me alive. At the end of his turn, I do think about exiling both Reanimates, but I decide it's too risky and I definitely should keep one, at least 1 up always. But actually thinking about it, I think I should have just passed and done nothing, because I don't think this deck can win as soon as I have you know, 2 exiles on available. So here I duress, and the opponent deciding that I'm never going to tap out, which I'm not, he just decides to concede. So in sideboarding I bring in 3 Engineered Plagues for the Hermits, Cabal Therapy because we're a combo deck, and 2 copies of Smother and 2 copies of Overload. The Smothers are good against the Hermits and the Phyrexian Dreadnoughts that are gonna happen, and Overload is also good against the Dreadnought. So really we just need a lot of removal to survive here. And siding out, I don't fully remember exactly how I did this, but I believe I took out all my Tombstone Stairwells because they're slow, and then some Rot Lungs and Lord of the Undead just because those cards are slow, and these games are probably going to be over by turn 3 anyway. So going into game 2, opponent starts with City of Brass and then pass. I have a turn 1 duress, so this is a good start from me, but unfortunately opponent has Worldly Tutor in response. So he can use this to search up a creature and put it on top of his deck. So he's going to search for a Phyrexian Dreadnought. And when I see his hand, it's a little hard to see because our connection wasn't so good, but he has 2 of the blue cards that can ignore the come into play effect that will let the Dreadnought survive, and 1 reanimate. So this is a really hard choice. In the end, I go for reanimate because I think it's the only unique card. I can't stop him from getting the Dreadnought, and I have a way to kill the Dreadnought. So I think, I'm going to leave him with 1 card in hand. I would rather it be a Stiflenought card than a reanimate. In hindsight, this is probably wrong, but at the time I thought he's got more copies of Hermit Druid than of Stiflenought after I've killed one, so that's why I went for that. So I untap and immediately smother it, killing it. So at this point I feel quite confident because opponent has 1 card in hand that they can't use, but unfortunately I completely forgot about reanimates. So that counts effectively as an extra Dreadnought at this point, and yeah, he gets another one. So looking back on that, I should have probably left him with the reanimate in hand instead of the Vision Charm or whatever that's called, because actually, even though he has 4 Hermits and 3 Dreadnoughts, all those reanimates effectively count as Dreadnoughts as well. So this is just inexperience against the deck, and it's a bit unfortunate that he top decked that. So yeah, I am just completely dead here. I cast Duress, see what's in his hand, and then concede. So going into game 3, I'm on the play. My hand has 3 Cabal Therapies, so that's why I keep it. I feel I know what I'm playing against. Here, I don't know if I should name Stiflenought, Phyrexian Dreadnought, sorry, or the Hermit. And actually, as you'll see, this completely shapes the game. So I name the Dreadnought because I don't want to be turn 1 Dreadnought. He has 2 Hermits. If I'd named Hermit, probably I would have won this game. The reason that I did it this way is because I have two more copies of Cabal Therapy, and the Hermit is slower. It just happens that, he has acceleration to accelerate the Hermit out. Here, when I see the Cabal Therapy, I think I'm going to get super lucky because, he won't be able to accelerate the Hermit out, but unfortunately he also drew a second piece of acceleration. So, yeah, maybe this is just inexperience of playing against the deck, but yeah, that if I'd named Hermit, it definitely would have been a different game. I'm really not sure if that's what you're supposed to do on turn 1, especially because I had 2 therapies in hand. I also noticed my life total has moved slightly. In this matchup, life totals aren't really relevant because our on-game pieces will lock one another out, or he's just going to kill me straight away. So sorry about that you can't see it properly, but in this matchup, it's really not super relevant. Either he's going to combo off and I'll be dead, or we'll have a game like game 1 where I have some interaction pieces on the board and he can't really deal with them. So at this point, I just assume that I'm completely dead. I believe that he can end of turn, mill his whole deck, upkeep, he can cast Crows and Reclamation, and then the next turn he can reanimate. So I attack for 2. Then I play Goblin Bombardment and I kill his thing, I believe. No, I start with a Duress. So this is where he shows me that he's actually drawn the land and I'm just completely dead straight away. So yeah, I shoot his thing and he just goes for the combo. So what's going to happen here, he will mill his entire deck, and then he'll use a card from Graveyard called Crows and Reclamation to shuffle 2 back in his upkeep. So he's going to shuffle 2 reanimates back, and then he'll play the land, play reanimate, get his huge hasted Sutured Ghoul, and just kill me. So yeah, that's 2-1 to Naughty Hermit. GG's, and thank you for watching. See you next time.